Welcome back to For the Love of Men podcast. My name is Courtney Shand, and I'm hosting with my dear friend Brianna Mosier.
Hi.
The intention of this show is to bring together men and women to create healthy, polarized relationship dynamics by learning how to honor each other's natural masculine and feminine energetic core. So before we dive in, we have some really hot takes for today.
Yes.
I'm really excited for this, but before we do that, I want to introduce you to my friend Bri and myself so that we can let you know who we are, what we're about, and then we'll dive in.
Yes. So if you don't know me already, my name's Bri. My work in the world is helping really high-achieving, independent, successful women embrace their feminine energy in their life for themselves, but also in their dating world, to call in and allow in more empowered, masculine, healthy, aligned partners toward them. Part of my background is also in sex, love, and intimacy work. So I love working with women on exploring and expanding their pleasure and what that means to them. What else? And somatic-based healing. I am all about moving through the body to get the energy out. That's the game changer. That's why so many of my clients have the results that they do, because they commit to moving the energy through. So that's one of the modalities I practice often with clients. Mm-hmm. Courtney, amazing. What's your magic in the world?
Yes. I love helping men and women work on empowering more of their agency in the world, really understanding kind of their own boundaries of what makes them, what helps them see themselves as really powerful and empowered in the world. And this shows up in how we date, how we take care of our health, how we are able to be with our family in new and more empowered ways. I also use body-based strategies and kind of have this deep healing with my clients around the generational patterns that we have inherited that keep us playing small, keep us playing this kind of helpless way in our life so that we can really live the life that we're created to have. So I am very excited to dive into this content because talk about empowering.
I'm excited. This is going to be great. This is like your cheat code to succeeding in the beginning phases of asking out a woman and creating that early dating chemistry, connection, safety. We want to help you understand what women are looking for, and more than that, why it works, which is more important. Not just about doing the thing, doing the action, but the energy it comes from, because you can create that energy in a lot of ways. This will make more sense as we go. Mm-hmm. What are we going to talk to them about today?
Before we dive in, I just want to piggyback on that, because when you understand, and I think this is true, especially for men, guys, let us know if this is not true, but especially for men and for women who have a history of more avoidant leaning, kind of really getting stuck in their head, causing some anxiety early in dating. When you understand why you're doing the things, your energy lines up more easily. I do think there's a mental piece to the energetic part. We have it backwards. We have to understand cerebrally why we're doing the thing. Then we can drop into our body. The energy is flowing in the direction we need for it to go. And then it really doesn't matter the action that you take, because it will be the correct one. And it will land totally different than if you had started from, CBA. Then we're just kind of putting it back in order, ABC here. So, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Perfect.
We're going to give you the how and then the effect it has on women, so you'll know.
Yes. So we are going to be talking about how to ask women out in an empowered, masculine way. We're so excited.
If you haven't already listened to our Dating in the Feminist Era episode, that would be a great precursor to this.
Agreed.
In fact, it would help you. It would really help you embrace it and be more successful with the same information.
Agreed. Yeah. You kind of need to have some background information. And before you listen to, or after you listen to that, you can go way back and listen to Wounded Masculine, Empowered Masculine. That's what we're talking about, is empowered masculine energy. So let's dive in.
Yeah.
So we were thinking about like ways that work in terms of asking women out in the feminist era. From a lot of clients, the male clients that I work with, there's kind of this fear of asking women out because they don't want to feel too pushy or overstepping, or they are naturally more sensitive to a woman's energy, and they haven't figured out how to harness that in a way that comes across as confident. They're naturally very confident, leadership-oriented, heart-centered men, and yet when it comes to dating, it is difficult for them to translate that to their dating life. Right?
Makes sense. Yes, makes sense.
Perfect. So these are some things that we wanted to share that work in terms of how to ask her out. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
Jump right in.
All right. One of my personal favorites is humor. There is something so sexy about humor. And actually, I think what it is, and I read this somewhere else, it's not my work, but is the risk involved. Because it is vulnerable to be funny. It shows that you are sturdy enough within yourself that what makes you laugh, you want to share, and also that you are okay if it flops. Because not everyone's going to have the same humor. But if it does work, it's going to be like
home run.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, and it also gives you a good read on if you guys connect with humor in the same way, right? Do you have the same sense of humor? I would agree. If somebody came in with a pretty good piece of banter or a joke, it also really lightens the mood off of dating can be very vulnerable, as Court's saying. So you coming in with humor kind of soothes all of that. It's like, oh yeah, we're just two people like figuring out if we fit together. It's no pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. Taking it a little bit more lightly. I would almost say that like humor is to the masculine what emotional expression is to the feminine. In that it's both like vulnerable and revealing. And the more secure you feel within yourself, the more fluidly you're going to do it. And it's going to come across as confident and attractive to the other person.
Well said.
Just kind of
love it.
Thought that came to me. So yeah, humor is a great one. If you feel like you feel a little wobbly in your sense of humor, that might be where doing a little bit of reflection on what actually does make you laugh and like the people around you that you typically connect with. I find for the clients that are a little nervous to lead with humor, it is usually that they are not clear on who they're trying to attract. Once we clarify that, you can just be your silly, goofy self. Same thing for women. I feel like women really clog themselves up in their energy when they get really nervous and kind of pedestal the other person. Then it feels like this uphill, like I really have to rise to the occasion, instead of like humor just being eye to eye, like, hey, I'm funny. I thought it'd make you laugh, so I thought I'd share. Like talk about provider energy. I love when men share humor with me.
And it helps you see if you're actually in sync. If you don't have the same sense of humor, I don't know, it's kind of difficult. You know,
it's going to be a trudge.
Yeah, it is going to be a trudge.
Like life is hard enough to not be around people that you can laugh with and be silly with.
Yeah.
It's going to be I think that would almost be its own red flag to me. And I won't speak for you guys, but like for me, if I can't connect on a humor level, that will be a red flag for me.
You are funny.
Because I am hilarious.
You are so funny, and your humor is so unique.
It's unique.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's why we work as friends. Oh, we just knocked heads hard. Because we have the same sense of humor, really. Very similar in a lot of ways. You ready for number 2?
I am.
All right. This is exciting. We feel really excited to share this with you. Am I taking the lead on this?
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I just took it whether you were going to give it to me.
Well, I was giving it to you because you said I want it. I said, okay.
I'm excited about it. Okay. We were considering come forward with directness, right? It's not, we've talked about it so many times on the show. Come forward with a plan. That's going to be your 10 out of 10 home run. We'll talk about some don'ts in just a minute, but it really shows a lot of effort and intentionality when you do come forward with a plan. But it's very different to come forward with clarity of a plan versus directness. So directness can sometimes come off a little wounded masculine, like be at this place at this time and wear this sort of thing and blah, blah, blah. Maybe that'll work with some women. Most of the time, you're probably going to be more successful with clarity of like, I would love to take you here. When are you free this week? You know, what works best for you? See what she says. There's clarity on the plan. You know where you're going, around what time. You're asking her for the date. You could even say something like, I'd love to take you out this week. Tell me, like, is there any food that you've been really craving or wanting to have? Or is there an experience that's been on your bucket list? Yes. I would like that. But more than that, I would also like if he came with suggestions of, I've been wanting to try XYZ places. Do any of these sound fun to you? Then I know a little bit about what he's into. I get to choose, but it's also his idea. So I'm still following the lead a little bit, you know, keeps me more relaxed in my feminine. So clarity, come with clarity more than you come with directness.
Yes. And I do think that men think that directness has to be like that. And the reason that we're clarifying this with such nuance is that it will feel unnatural if you are someone who is really concerned with her experience to come in and be this kind of like machismo. It will come across as wounded masculine. It's not going to translate the way that you think, especially if this isn't your natural propensity. It's going to feel a little bit, just a little unnatural. I don't know what else to say. But when you were saying that, it made me think, the reason that this is really effective is because you are narrowing the scope for her. It's not about you choosing a place so much as it is supporting her in narrowing the options. If I were to say, Bree, I really want to take you out to dinner, where do you want to go? Her body is going to be like
overwhelmed. Can I interject for a second?
Yeah.
Because the other thing about women is we can't help it. One of our mentors, Allison, often says it's factory setting that women want to be pleasing, not just to men, but to everyone around us. We're taking in, is this going to make them happy too? Are they going to enjoy it too? So I'll just speak for myself, and I know a lot of people who might agree with this. You put the decision on me. Now I feel like I'm thinking about your needs actually. Are you going to have fun? What about, like, how do I know how much you want to spend on the date? How do I know where you want to travel to? How do I know what you're into? I don't know. And I know men are typically thinking the same things, right?
Yeah.
I just want to make her happy. This is where you coming forward with a few options is probably going to be your most successful and nervous system easing option. If you leave it up to me entirely, I'm stressed, actually.
Yeah.
I'm actually stressed about it because why? I don't want to spend your money. I don't want to pick a place you might not want to go to. I would much rather prefer you come forward with some suggestions that you feel like would be fun.
Yeah. This is about collaboration, not about picking one or the other. Think of it from the energy of what is the most collaborative. I can still say, hey, I really want to take you on a date on Tuesday at 7:00. Does that work for your schedule?
Yeah.
Collaboration. If not, we can negotiate that. And these are some options that I thought would be really fun just from what I know about you. Do any of these feel fun for you? That's going to be so much easier for her. You've just narrowed the focus and you're giving her the choice. So if you're a man and I truly think that you are coming from a really genuine place of wanting to make her happy, exactly what Bree said, we trust that. And I would say most women trust that, but the experience as the feminine is going to be like,
our pleasing tendencies come out.
I have to pick one. And there's thousands of options. Like, we're in Nashville, there's thousands of options. And I'm scanning through like, exactly what you said. I don't know how much she wants to spend. So like, you go ahead and do the thinking. It's the same thing. The masculine is always the boundaries. The masculine is containing, the feminine gets to fill in. So if you think about it from that way, energetically, that's what we're trying to create. You're creating the context, and she is going to come in and create the liveliness, and the collaboration between the two is going to feel more fun than what you could have come up with by yourself.
Yes. I love what you said about based on what I know about you too. If you're on an app, which we'll do some more episodes on apps, we were just talking about this, or you've met her in person, consider, what do you know about her? What has she said that she's liked or would be interested in? Is there a place that she mentioned? Any of that information. Oh, she likes this, she'll probably like that. That also communicates a lot of our next point.
Go for it.
Thoughtfulness and attunement. Right? The more that you are really sincerely getting to know her and what makes her happy and what she feels excited about, it's going to be easy to pick somewhere that is fun for both of you and she feels really seen in.
And I love that too, because the amount of pressure that gets relieved actually from both of you when you are able to tune in to what she is interested in automatically opens up new options. There are things I think actually in dating that men have introduced me to that I would never have found on my own. But it was, sort of the 2 degrees of separation kind of thing of like, oh, you like flowers. I bet you'd like the botanical garden, one of my favorite places in Nashville. Found it on a date. Like, that's those kind of things are places that I wouldn't have naturally taken myself, or it would have taken me longer to find. Restaurants, same thing. Some of my favorite restaurants, I'm like, oh, I love this place, but I wouldn't have found it myself because it's just outside of my, neighborhood or my normal path. So don't underestimate the gift that you're giving by thinking a little bit outside the box too.
Yeah. And you're showing her what you're interested in, what you like, and taking her into your world.
Yes.
Which is part of the goal of dating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a lot more win-wins available, which is very
Take it away. What's our next one?
Oh.
Do you love it?
I think in addition to just attunement, I think you always say it, so I just was channeling my inner Brie voice of read the room. Read the room.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Why are you laughing?
Because you were laughing.
I was just laughing about the times that I've thought of the phrase, oh my God, read the room. Like,
yes.
Just like attunement to the group, attunement to the nature of the connection, right? Like, is she ready for you to ask her out? Has she been ready for a while? Keeping a pulse on that for sure.
Very, very important. Because if you are tuned into her experience, you will, I think, naturally know. And I do want to point out, because we were talking about this earlier, that I think this is where it's challenging in the feminist era of dating, where men are running into some little hiccups because they, again, don't want to overstep. They don't want to be presumptive. They want to be in tune. And I think that it can sometimes get a little bit lost. I wish I had a really great way of helping you find this, because this might be person to person difference. So I want to just put that out there. We were just talking before this of like, as we have developed and as we've done our work, it is more likely that I'm like, let's just go. Just tell me the plan and let's do the thing. Versus someone else who may be a little bit either earlier in their process or may have a certain level of comfort that they need to have in order to meet you in person. That varies person to person. So when in doubt, you can always ask. I would honestly feel so seen if a man were to ask, like, hey, I just want to clarify, are you someone that really likes to just dive in? We should just go get drinks, or do you want to have a phone date first?
Great question. I would love that question.
Yeah. Because she'll know. Her body will say, oh, phone date. Oh my gosh, thank you.
Yeah.
And she's wanting for you to take the lead in that. And when you have some clarity around what options you're wanting to work with, then you can present those and trust that just presenting them is exuding confidence. You are creating that container for her that will exude some confidence. That is really hot.
The other thing that works about that is your attunement to her is showing respect for where she's at. So that would tell me immediately, you're tuning into, do I feel safe, ready? Do I feel attracted? Do I feel, close enough to want to go out? It's just honestly just the reality of being a woman. Like, you just think about it. You just do. So being able to acknowledge that and need to know, oh, he's aware if I feel comfortable, if I feel safe, that actually makes me trust him more. Ooh, let me just explain the effect of this. Yes. It's so important that you know, because if I feel like you are protecting me, like you're going to respect my boundaries, you're going to be attuned to me, what's working or what's not, I can be in my feminine energy. If I'm having to hold all my boundaries because I'm afraid you're going to overstep, I'm in my masculine. I'm protecting myself. So the more that you are the protector, that you're thinking about, is she ready? What would make her feel the most comfortable? That sort of energy, not in a nice guy way, in a protector energy way, right? And we have a whole episode on that. You should go listen to non-threatening versus protector, the nice guy episode. We have a few on it. The more that she feels safe and feels like you're looking out for her safety, for her comfortability, the more you are going to get the juicy feminine.
It works.
Period.
It works.
And when she doesn't feel that is when she's going to go into, all right, let me text my friends. Let me tell everybody where I'm going. And I don't really know what his vibe is. So it's going to be a little bit more guarded. It's okay. Nothing wrong with it. It's just, this is kind of like a bonus skill, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just going to be a lot more fun for both of you.
Both of you. It's like an exhale to know somebody's looking out for your comfortability.
Yep. Yep. And I would say it will put you in the top 1% of dating men.
Period.
We're just giving you, if you want to be in the top 1%, try it. If you are finding this, practice, if you're in the dating space, dating can be a really great opportunity to practice some of these skills. This is not going to be one that hurts anybody. There's some where you're you kind of have to fumble around in your emotional intelligence development. And it will work sometimes, and sometimes you'll have some clarity from it. But this is one where I don't think you could go wrong by just saying like, hey, just want to check in with you. Which would feel better?
Do you want to go out or do you want a phone date first? I love it.
Yeah, she'll know. Go for it.
Next one, be clear on the offer. I would also think it would be a pro tip for you to have the offer of the date and then keep in mind, if the date's going really well, some places nearby or something like that that you could continue the date with. Maybe you're more spontaneous and I'm just showing my cards as being quite a planner. But to have something in mind where, you know, you've presented this offer, I want to take you to dinner, and then I want to take you to, I don't know, movie, show, music, whatever it might be. Having something in mind of also a drink spot around the corner or a food place around the corner or whatever it might be.
Park.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be more money. It can just be more time.
More time together. Exactly. But coming forward with a clear offer of, I'd like to take you XYZ place at this time. Does that work for your schedule? Maybe we could do this after. What do you think? Again, having the expectations laid out in front of you helps relax. She relaxes. The thing about, we always say this about the feminine, is one of the keys to helping the feminine open. One of her core needs is safety. And we often correlate the plan and the clarity around the plan as creating the safety. When we know what's going to happen, it's like, we're going to go here, and then we're going to go here, and then I'm going to get taken home. Okay. Now I can relax.
Yeah.
Be clear on the offer.
Yeah. You can also keep that light. It doesn't have to be like from 8:02 to 8:57.
That might
we're going to be having drinks. Like that will, you know, we're not saying that it needs to be like to the T. The more confidence you build, the more you're going to be able to go with the flow, and that will totally change as you embody more masculine energy, more empowered masculine energy, and have more clarity about yourself. That being said, you can keep it light and say like, hey, these are some things that I think would be fun. Let's meet for drinks. And then, you know, if it's really vibing at drinks, hey, let's just stay for dinner. And if it's still really vibing, hey, there's a park just down the street. Let's keep going. Do you want to take a walk? Or you can also offer, like if you want to go ahead and just plan that next time. You know, she may say like, I only have an hour. That's another thing that you can check in. Like, how much time do you have? Because I do know that a lot of female clients will say like, this ended up being a 5-hour date and it stressed me out.
Oh, interesting.
Because they didn't share the amount of time that they had to share on the front end. Obviously, we want to be able to go with the flow, but if she has some time constraints, then that might be worth just, you know, asking.
Which goes back to that being clear, right?
Yep.
And attunement.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Love that. I do think too, in keeping it light, you can play together. Like this might be fun to generate ideas while you're meeting or even before your meeting of like playing a game, almost like almost a would you rather kind of thing, but date version. Would you rather go to drinks or coffee? Would you rather, you know, just as you get to know you, you can even entertain it that way of just let's play a game. And see if she doesn't have these things on her profile, you can always ask.
That's kind of a fun move.
I know. I think it would be so playful.
I think that's a really fun move.
Yeah.
You're learning a lot about her by asking those questions.
And very little risk for you, you know? They're just either or questions.
Gold.
Yeah.
I hope everyone listens to the 25-minute mark for that reason.
25-minute mark.
So good.
Agreed. Ooh, this one's all you.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Some strong feelings.
Okay. I do have some strong feelings. So, in my experience, when COVID happened, obviously we had a lot of restrictions on dating and where you could go and where you could take each other. But it felt like, when I was dating at that time, that things went from being constrained around where we could go to just generally a lot of low effort dates. I don't know if that was your experience too. You didn't have that experience? A lot of my clients that I was working with would come to me and be like, everybody's asking for coffee dates or to go for a walk. And like, I want to feel like a woman. I want to go on a date. And it was the constant low effort offer that I just can't help but feel like started when we had less options, you know? But
Possibly.
now that things are back in full swing and you have all this freedom, it's not necessarily that you has to be a dinner date or a proper date every time. It's just that you want to avoid being low effort, especially if this is a woman that I'll just say is empowered feminine, right? We're going to be looking for that attunement or thoughtfulness, the clarity of the plan. It doesn't have to be an expensive date. It doesn't have to be anything bougie or over the top. It just communicates thoughtfulness. If she says she really likes tacos and margs, could you go to a margarita class, a drink class?
Ooh.
That's a lot more effort and thoughtfulness, right? Nothing wrong with getting a margarita for drinks, by the way. I'm just saying I would avoid the and I think Courtney and I might disagree on this. I would say I would avoid the let's go get coffee, let's go for a walk, because for me, it doesn't feel like a date. It feels like we're friends. And cool, I'm getting to know you, but I would prefer, if that were the case, a phone call. If you just want to get to know each other and see if we're a good vibe and if you want to take me out, I would prefer, let's have a FaceTime date. Great. I'm at home. I don't even have to put on anything other than lounge clothes. We get to know each other. Then you feel like, yes, I want to go on a date. Awesome. A coffee date feels low effort for a lot of the women that I've worked with, and I would say my personal opinion too. So something with structure, thoughtfulness doesn't have to be expensive. Go ahead, I know you have a counter thought on this. She has a different feeling.
I would say that for my, personally, I don't have as strong of a feeling, but I also have had the experience of men. I think the pandemic made the men who were in my world at the time more creative. I mean, like planning 3 different options that we could do at home and take your pick kind of thing.
So cool.
Yeah. Or just a lot more, like even picking up the supplies to make margs at the park or
fun
things like that. There's lots of things. It doesn't have to be, because classes can get expensive if it's a first date. Like being mindful of that. I totally get that. I think the reason coffee dates kind of get a bad rap is, in my perception, there's a vibe in the dating space where I only want to give you so much time. I need to know that you're worth my effort to do more. And I find that those people tend to find each other, and it almost creates this like implosion. I've had a bad coffee date. One. And it really was.
You were glad it was coffee.
I was glad it was coffee. And I was glad that it was only like 45 minutes. I was like, okay, well, this is not going to work. Had I just had a phone call before that, probably would have been fine. But I think the reason that coffee dates kind of get a bad rap is that it brings the energy of, I'm waiting for this to be done, instead of, or like a time constraint. The dates that I have gone on that they're like, hey, I've got a hard stop at 1:00 and we're meeting at like 12:15. Like, it does feel a little bit like rushed, and like you didn't get a good sense of me before this. That would be my feelings about the coffee date, is that there's plenty of other ways to get a sense for me other than a very like time limited thing.
Yeah.
And maybe that is just the phone call. I do hear what you're saying of it. It does kind of feel very friend vibe. I meet Bree for coffee. I meet Bree at the park for a walk. You know, like there's, that's not going to be like a super polarizing experience. I have gone on walks with men before, and we had some really good in-depth conversations while we're walking, but I didn't leave feeling like, that guy, I hope he calls me again.
That's exactly.
It's a different energy.
Yes, you said it perfectly. Like, it's not polarizing because you feel both very neutral, right? I'm not sure about you. You're not sure about me. Let's see how it goes. A date feels polarizing. It feels like I'm going to get ready. I'm going to be excited. I'm going to get my energy, you know, how I want it to be to go on the date. I'm looking forward to it. Think about where we're going to meet up. Like, it's a whole, you've carved out time and I've carved out time to get to know each other in a way that feels polarizing, as we talk about, very masculine and feminine. You're holding this space, and the woman gets to be like floaty and melty if she wants to, or playful and warm, or whatever. The coffee date, like you're saying, feels like friends, and then there's no polarity, and then there's no chemistry. I just feel like it's not always the best foot to start on, to set both of you up to create that chemistry. you're better off, like Courtney's saying, you know, you could make the drinks in a little thingy and you take it to the park with you as you walk.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, and
fun.
after we're going to go to the farmer's market and walk around. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Anything, but not nothing that communicates low effort like that. That's, I think, where things go haywire.
Yes. Yeah. And I do think that's an energetic thing more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it feels like kind of hedging. Feels like I'm holding my cards very tight to my chest. When I've gone on coffee dates, it feels very calculated. And that's just my experience. And I think that might be why some women don't like it. I know some women do love coffee dates because they want to get in, get out. Let's see if we fit. Great.
I would do a FaceTime over that.
I think I would too.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't like how I feel on a coffee date. I like the feeling of like being rushed and not knowing what happens next. And, you know?
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. And then I'm probably still in work mode that day if I'm meeting you for coffee. So it's like I'm not really relaxed into my feminine. I'm thinking about what I have to do next.
Yeah. I was going to say too, like maybe this is my own judgment, but like you can always tell when someone's on a first date at a coffee shop and you're like, oh, I hope it goes well. But I feel the eyes when I am in that space. I would expect to feel the eyes if I was in a different context. So maybe that's just my own thought.
The next one, you've got some fire around.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
She came alive.
So I feel like I've been, okay. So here's a super empowered masculine pro tip again. There is a difference between overstepping and anticipating her needs. One is going to feel like anxiety. The other is going to feel like responsiveness. And if that feels like too hazy in your body, that might be where we need to spend some time clarifying. But when men are having a hard time knowing where that line is, they probably also have some anxiety that we need to kind of get underneath to get some clarity there. But the very empowered masculine move is to anticipate her experience because you're attuned, not because you're doing it out of anxiety and like spinning all the plates and trying to get her to like you or get her to feel a certain way. It is creating the environment, not controlling the variables. That's the difference. So I've listed this one because I think this really works when we're able to anticipate some of her needs. Again, safety, clarity, soothing, not guessing. Those are always going to work for a feminine energy woman because those are kind of like core needs of the feminine. And when you can anticipate that she probably has some of those needs, different levels, different, combinations of priority, you are going to be able to have different experience than you would if you were trying to not overstep. What happens when you're trying to not overstep is you're like sucking in too hard and she A, can't feel you, and B, it creates her own anxiety because she's going to be like leaning in of like, does he need my help? Like, what's happening? We want for that feeling of like masculine energy is like the waves of the ocean, like consistent. They keep coming. They don't hurt me. They're just like very soothing. They are, that's the energy that we're looking for from an empowered masculine man that will soothe her nervous system like that. I forget what all I was going to say about this, but
I think you said everything that needed to be said.
Okay.
Unless you have more.
I probably do, but I think that's it.
I probably do.
Yeah. Well, I do think that men they're hesitant in wanting to not overstep because you genuinely care about her experience. And especially in the era of feminism, I think this is going to be a little more challenging for you to navigate because when men have been kind of like had their wrists slapped for overstepping or have seen that happen in other contexts, they're going to be very hyper aware of not overstepping to their own detriment. It will actually cause them to like suck in their masculine energy when we need more clarification of where your masculine energy is. That is what's going to feel safe for her, is to see where your masculine energy actually is, not for you to like hold it in so that you're not like overstepping.
So what would be, not to put you on the spot, but I do this often.
Go ahead.
Do you have a real life example of that?
Yeah. Like going back to the clarity versus directness, what we were talking about that, anticipating her needs is going to be exactly what we said of I'm assuming that this is vulnerable for you. Is there anything that I could be doing, just energetically thinking this to yourself, is there anything I could be doing that would feel supportive if I were to see someone that was feeling nervous or anxious or scared, or, you know, was wanting to be more out there and like, you know, expose part of their vulnerabilities? Is there anything that I would just instinctively do to provide some safety for that person? Is it a reassurance? Is it just to see it and respect it, to kind of exude a mutual knowing that she's got it? I'm trying to think of a real-time example.
I know. We might have to do it in our next episode.
Yeah, I'm having a loss, but I will think of that and then I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I think that'll be really helpful to see it in action. But I do understand what you're saying. So many men are afraid of overstepping that they hold back even bringing their masculine leadership energy forward. And actually, that's probably what she's really craving. But there's a balance, and it goes back to attunement, right? You really attuning to how much of that kind of like leadership, plan making, space holding she's receptive and opening up to versus feeling overpowered. And you can see it, I think, in women's body language. But if you feel like you can't see it and you're listening going, I don't know that line, you should hire Courtney to do coaching sessions with you so she can sit across from you and you can say, this is the approach I normally take. And she can say, that feels amazing. I feel supported. Or, whoa, I actually feel like I want to do this. And maybe you saw it in my face. Maybe you saw my body language X. Like, it's just skill set. Everything is a skill. As my brilliant friend Courtney says, you want to learn the skill, get some practice in. This isn't something I offer, but you would be brilliant at doing that. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm actually really excited. I'm reworking my men's program to help with men in this specific context. So if you need some more clarification within yourself, that's where we want to start
the program. Really quickly, let's just go over, let's give them a rundown of what works and then just quickly talk about these don'ts. There's one more don't we really need to get through.
Oh, yes.
In fact, let's just do it now.
Let's just rip the Band-Aid off.
So the one thing you don't want to be doing, it's a trademark term by Courtney.
It's a Southern term. I didn't know that this was a Southern term. Until I'm around people who are not from the South, I'm like, oh, you don't dawdle?
I'm from New England. We don't dawdle in New England. We like beat around the bush.
Okay, same thing.
Don't even know what that means. If it has a terrible context, I'm sure somebody in the comments is going to tell me, which I won't be offended by. You can tell me. I can take feedback. It's kind of like you're not really making the plan. You're like, I don't know if she wants me to ask her out. If she doesn't, so you keep sending messages. And by then it's been like 2 weeks on a dating app and you're just what we apparently say in the South, dawdling. Not really making the move. So many women, okay, all of my clientele is women. Amazing women that you would love to meet. They are incredible.
Our clients need to meet each other.
They're incredible.
We need to host a dating space.
We will do this at some point. We will have like a For the Love of Men meetup where these types of men and these types of women can meet each other. Our listenership is pretty much 50-50. Yeah. Men and women, which is the coolest thing ever. Yeah. We're trying to bring the men's side up even more with these episodes. What was I saying about? Oh, my clients. I picked it right back up.
Yeah, you found it. Thank you.
Yeah. Will tell me often, like, I mean, we've been talking, but he's not making any move to take it off the app or to call or to ask me on a date. I don't know what to do. I'm like, well, there's really not a lot you can do because he's dawdling. So at that point, she's either going to step into her masculine and try to make a lead forward to set up the date. You don't want to do that because it's going to depolarize you guys. You know, it's not the end of the world, but it's setting a precedent in one direction.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're listening to our show, you value feminine, masculine polarity, right? So that's what you want to be doing. Otherwise, she's wondering, is he interested? Is he not? And eventually, depending on how empowered she is, maybe pretty soon, she's going to just start shifting her energy elsewhere to somebody who is going to ask. So I think you're always better off going for that $1 million question earlier. Hey, what do you think? Are you someone who prefers to meet up in person, or do you want to have a phone call first and kind of see how the vibe is? I think that is your 10 out of 10 every time. And then she's going to tell you directly.
Yeah.
No dawdling. Don't dawdle. Just dawdling around in the DMs all the time. Remember, dawdling and don't go together.
Yes. Because there's really no need to dawdle. If you are someone that is clear on what you want, you will not dawdle, because you're either in it for casual, which is clear, and that's great. Be in it for casual. Or you're in it for something serious, which is also great. Neither side of those needs dawdling. You can just say like, hey, I'm really looking to have some chat time. Like, I just want to chat with somebody.
Yeah.
That's fine. And then there's other people who are super polarized against that. They're like, don't waste my time. I'm not looking for a pen pal.
Yes.
That, be clear on your dating profile of which one you're in the camp of. And then the dawdling will not feel comfortable either way, because you're like, you already know that I'm here for a long-term relationship. I might as well just see, are you someone that likes to get into this way or this way? Instead of kind of like feeling it out. I think men can sometimes, that is a practical example of anticipating needs versus wanting to not overstep, because men will, I think, hold back their invitation to advance things because they aren't quite sure of how she's feeling. And what's happening in the dynamic, like if we were to zoom out a little bit, is she is devolving into turning in on herself and wondering, does he even like me? Like, what is this gonna go anywhere? She's starting to have doubts within herself because she can't feel your masculine energy. It would be much safer in terms of like big picture of where you want to go, to just try do you want to have a phone call or do you want to go on a date? Like obviously see if there's a little bit of banter, see if you guys are connecting. It's probably not the one you want to lead with. 2 or 3 back and forth, I think it's safe. Go ahead. If she feels like receptive to your energy when you're advancing and she's like, okay, this is fine, ask the question. You're not going to hurt anybody. If she's like doing this, that's not your girl. I'm just going to be very bold and say that's not your girl.
Yeah.
Because the men who are coming from nice guy energy get stuck in nice guy camp because they're actually attracted to women who are in their wounded feminine too. And we never break out of that cycle together. So just let her do some work with Bree and meet back up on the other side.
Seems like a plan to
too
me.
Too bold?
Just don't dawdle about it. That's it.
You got yourself a dawdling situation.
Don't dawdle. Don't dawdle.
Don't dawdle. You can be clear.
Our next episode, we want to talk to you about pre-date. There's an art to this too. We want to just give you the A++ tips. You want to bring the best out in women, their most juicy, empowered, feminine energy. Truly, these are the ways to do it. You don't have to. There's no obligation. You can do whatever you want. We're just letting you know inside the minds of women, which I'd like to think we know quite well from all this work. This is the way to knock it out of the park. Touchdown, home run. That's all I got.
Hole in one. All of the sports analogies.
Yes, it's the game-winning shot. So the follow-up pre-date is what we're going to chat about in the next episode, is the time between when you've set the date to when the date is happening also matters, and the focus is always on stabilizing her nervous system. Not to get too technical, but like a stable nervous system is the sexiest thing in the world.
Oh.
It just is, especially for women who've done their work. They're going to have a bare minimum of, I want to be at peace when I'm with this person. So if there's any up and down, that's going to make her pull away. I need to stop because we're going to talk about it in the next episode.
I know. This is tough for us. And the next episode's going to be good because I feel like you can go off on this of what safety does for a woman.
Safety and women go together. Bring the best out of a woman, create safety.
And these men listening are already ones that are conscientious of a woman's experience anyway. True. So like when we're telling you, we said this in a couple episodes ago, the men who have come from the nice guy camp have everything it takes. We just need a little bit of extra oomph. and then it's going to be like game over.
It's self-trust, really.
It is.
Mhm.
It's self-trust. It is. And that takes some time and a little bit of calibration.
Yes.
I won't lie.
As does the other, right?
As does, absolutely. That is your path. But once it is locked in, and I do think it's faster than a lot of people think. Once that's locked in, you start trusting yourself, man, look out.
Especially if you have support and a system like Rooted.
I'm telling you, the calibration part is hands down.
Yeah.
Game changer.
Okay. If you want more from Courtney,
Courtney_Shand, all platforms. You can find Rooted at CourtneyShand.com/rooted, or just message me. Let's talk about it. Tell me what you've been experiencing. I can almost promise you I can get right to it. We can diagnose that issue. And I find that my clients, the men that I work with, get really quick results. There's a couple things that need to shift. And once that happens, we do a little bit of that calibration work to just lock it in so that it's solid in your body. And then you are rooted like a oak tree, and women will feel so
safe
secure, and you will experience a totally different type of woman. Yeah,
I love that.
I know. I feel pretty solid about it, and I'm reworking it too, so it's just getting better and better.
You are the queen of a little to the left, perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you're mostly getting it right, and we just 10% over here would be an A++. I think you'd be a great person to help them work out those nuances with.
Yeah, I do. I am pretty confident about that one. And Bree?
I mean, I only work with women right now, so I don't have any offerings for you, but you're welcome.
Let me help you. Women, if you're listening to this and you're like, I can't tell the difference between when a man is in his wounded feminine or an empowered masculine man.
I am pretty good at helping with that.
Yeah.
For the women, I imagine this is taking a lot. We're bringing in a lot of men with this episode. What? But if there are women listening, I mean, you've got Soft and Secure. If you want to come into your feminine energy, you want to learn good discernment, how to date in empowered, feminine, healthy, drama-free ways, Soft and Secure is definitely the place to be. Instagram at Building Bree Coaching. We have TikTok for the show, For the Love of Men podcast. On Instagram, we are the For the Love of Men podcast. We're on YouTube if you're listening any other way than on YouTube. We have our videos up there as well. Courtney's been the queen of that. Anything else?
I think that's it. I'm really excited for this next topic because I think this is going to flow really nicely. So if this was interesting to you, come back in 2 weeks. We can't wait to share more.
We'll see you later.